Hello and welcome. In this tutorial, we'll show you how to expand and multiply your custom motion planning set with minimal manual configuration and adjustments. Let's get started. First, let's place a simple moving product planning set from the factory pack and analyze how it's constructed. Under the basic sets, apply the transfer items, single worker MP set. In the node graph, we can see a straightforward workflow. The first node checks the placement point status to determine which branch to execute next. If there are still items on the starting table, the worker will move items from table begin to table end. The moving order can be defined as nearest, random, or selected item. The motion consists of a pickup action followed by a put-down action. If there are no items left on the table, the worker is redirected to a rest subgroup, where he performs random idle motions inside a loop. Let's click Go MD to see it in action. The first node detects items on the table, so the worker executes the pickup and put-down sequence, moving items from A to B. He repeats this until the first table is empty. Once finished, he transitions to the resting behavior as expected. Now, let's recreate this setup from scratch. First, delete the original starting table. A warning will appear, indicating that there are corresponding nodes in the node graph and that deleting it may compromise the MP set. Next, go to the factory pack and apply the Pickup Product MD prop. This tool contains a single item on a table. Since we plan to expand this into multiple tables later, we'll also need a long table. Go to the MD Props pack, find a suitable long table under Props, and drag it into the scene. To better understand the MD prop structure, expand it in the Scene Manager. You'll see two key interactive components, the product with its placement point and the standing point. Together, these define where the object is placed and where the worker stands when performing the task. For better visualization, go to the material settings of the product and change its diffuse color to red. Now open the Node Graph Editor, delete all existing nodes, and start from scratch. Create a start node. Then select the table's standing point to create its node in the graph and assign the only character in the scene. The default motion is pickup, which is correct. Next, create an MD Prop Tool node for Tool 4 and assign the same character. Now we must decide which placement point the worker will use to put down the item. There are currently 6 placement points available. Expand the MD prop structure in the Scene Manager. You'll notice there are 6 identical MD props attached to the top mesh. Each of them contains 1 placement point and 1 standing point. Because the node recognizes the hierarchical structure, we only need to select the top object, whether it's a mesh or an MD prop. The system will automatically detect the placement points underneath it. Now, change the motion to put down, then click Go MD. Now we can see the worker pick up the red item, walk to the second table, find the nearest available placement point, and put it down. Next, let's expand the first table to hold multiple items. In the MD prop, we don't need the blue dummy table mesh, so we can hide or delete it. Move the MD prop to the correct position on the long table, then duplicate it until we have 6 identical copies. The most important step is to attach all duplicated MD props to the long table mesh. This way, they function as a collective MD prop group. In the Pickup node, we can now assign the workbench directly. The worker will automatically pick the nearest item and place it on the nearest available position on the destination table. However, even though there are multiple objects, we'll notice the worker only executes the action once. That's because the start node is not looping. To fix this, enable the loop option in the start node. Now, after completing one cycle, the worker returns to the beginning and executes the pickup node again. There's one more issue to resolve. After all items are moved, the workflow forms a closed loop with no further instruction, so the worker simply stands there. We need to define what should happen when the transfer process is finished. Fortunately, there's a resting area MD prop we can use. Open the node graph and sample the resting area MD prop, assigning the same character to it. To control logic based on a condition, we need to add a condition node specifically, a check placement point node. For more information about the check placement point node, please refer to the dedicated tutorial. Now, define which object to check. As before, if we want to evaluate all placement points, we simply select the parent object above them in the hierarchy, i.e., the workbench. Next, define the condition. The placement setting allows us to choose whether any or all placement points must meet the criteria to return true. In this case, we set it to any. That means if any object remains on the table, the logic routes back to the transfer stream. If no items remain, the condition evaluates as false, and the workflow redirects to the resting node stream, where the worker performs selected idle behaviors. Now, when we click Go MD, the worker transfers all items one by one. After placing the final item on the destination table and detecting that no items remain at the source, he automatically walks to the resting area. Now that we understand the basics and inner workings of the motion planning set, we can expand and scale it up to better simulate a real-life production scenario. To keep things organized, let's first add suffixes to the collection folders and create new folders for the additional MD props. Next, we want to duplicate both the start and end workbenches 6 times. The most important step during duplication is to ensure the hierarchy is set correctly for all duplicated copies. Select all duplicated MD props, then go to Edit, Attach, and choose the original MD prop as the parent. If all duplicates are properly attached to the original MD prop, there's no need to adjust any node settings afterward. Repeat the same process for the opposite side. You'll notice that the targeted MD prop in the MD prop node is still set to the original MD prop, so no further adjustment is required after duplication. Also note that the MD prop field in the node can only accept an actual MD prop object. You cannot select a collection folder, as it does not meet the node's MD prop requirement. Finally, to prevent characters from walking through objects or MD props, we need to generate a nav mesh. Make sure the nav mesh covers at least 50% of all position points in the scene. Otherwise, the MD prop interactions may be ignored. We can further expand our existing planning set into a larger MP set and connect them so they work together seamlessly. In this example, we've applied the production floor MP set from the factory pack. To reposition the entire MP set, go to the Scene Manager, right-click the main group, and click Select Direct Descendants. This allows you to move and rotate all components together so they fit properly within your scene. Now we want to replace the Start workbench in the larger MP set with the 6 tables we created earlier. Open the node graph and locate the Pickup subgroup responsible for moving items. Simply change the targeted MD prop in both the Move node and the Check Placement Point node to the new MD prop set we created, which is the Work Area End MD prop. Repeat this adjustment for the corresponding check node. Now, if there are any items on those 6 tables, they will be picked up and sent to the next stage of the process. Since we've increased the number of objects entering the workflow, we also need to expand the final storage area at the end of the MP set. Duplicate the storage MD prop 6 times and properly attach them, just as we did earlier. With just a few simple adjustments, we've successfully connected 2 MP sets into one continuous workflow. To further improve efficiency, we may want to add additional workers to handle the moving stage of the first MP set. Duplicate the character and assign a unique material so you can change the color of the new worker for easy identification. To allow all 3 workers to perform the same moving task, group the moving nodes into a subgraph node and rename it for clarity. Make sure the loop option is activated inside each subgraph node. This ensures that each worker restarts their loop immediately after placing an item at the destination. If the loop option is activated outside the subgraph, all workers will wait until every item is placed before restarting. To have all characters execute the same task in parallel, create a parallel node and connect the first output to the original node stream. To speed up duplication, select the existing node stream, for example, output 0, and click Duplicate. This allows you to replicate the entire stream without manually reconnecting each node. Finally, rename the duplicated nodes for clarity and reassign them to the appropriate characters using the swap actors command. After that, regenerate or adjust the nav mesh in the scene, and everything is ready to go. Thanks to the flexible and intuitive logic built into the motion planning system, an extensive range of simulated products, processes, operations can now move seamlessly through every stage of production and emerge as fully finished results with minimal manual setup. Hope you found this tutorial useful. See you in the next one.